Hello, class. This is Pooja, and I welcome you all again to the anthropology series that we started. This is the lecture 2 of that series, and let me give you a quick overview that what we will be covering in this lecture. We will be covering the syllabus part 1.2. What we will do, we will first understand the concepts of this part of the syllabus, then we will take notes, and then we will solve some previous year questions related to this part of the syllabus. And at last, I do have a piece of advice for you guys, so stay tuned. This class is presented to you by me, Pooja Yadav. I have appeared for the UPSC interview in 2021 with anthropology optional, and I've also written another mains in 2022 with anthropology. So now let's get started. So as I told you, we will be doing syllabus part 1.2. What it is concerned about is relationship of anthropology with other subjects like social science, behavioral science, life science, medical science, earth science, and humanities. So we will take a look at them one by one. What we will do when we will discuss the relationship, we will first look at similarities, some differences, and then some overall relation with that subject. So, in social sciences, we are mainly concerned about these three subjects because these are the favorite of UPSC. First is sociology, economics, and political science. So, first take sociology. Actually, social anthropology emerged from sociology itself in 19th century. As it has emerged from this, so they must have some similarities, and as they are two different subjects, so there must be some differences present. So we will see that as follows. Now first take a look at similarities. They have common subject matter first of all. For example, marriage, society, culture, kinship, etc. are studied both in anthropology and sociology. Secondly, they use same research methods. For example, survey, questionnaire, schedule, case study, etc. What a survey, social survey means, we are given a set of questions, society related questions. We submit our answers, then all those answers are analyzed by comparing them. And this is how they come to a social conclusion. This is the research method both for social anthropology and sociology. And they both help solve contemporary social problems. So this was the similarities part. Now we will take a look at the differences. So first of all, social anthropology try to understand it is the holistic study relating society to other aspects of the human behavior. For example, how society affects the psychology of a person, how biology is related to society, and how biology or the biological trait affect the social trait of any particular society. While on the other hand, sociology is concerned only about the society with its various aspects rather than the holistic study. Secondly, social anthropology studies social organization with relation to biological, cultural, genetics, etc. For example, if we take an example, we may say that anthropology says why there is higher MMR, that is maternal mortality rate, and infant mortality rate in humans. It is mainly because this is a social problem, but why is it arising? Anthropology in one of its reason says that this is happening because of the erect posture of the humans. Because of the erect posture, the reproductive canal has narrowed down, and this presents a difficulty both in conceiving and in giving birth to the child. So, this is how social issues are related with the biological aspects. So, this I told you so that you can understand. Now, social anthropology studies biology, genetics, sports, etc. For example, the anthropology of sports is called kinanthropology. So, here, along with the social traits, some biological traits are also taken care of. Okay, but sociology as a subject is not interested in these fields. Now, the most important difference I will say that you have to remember is social anthropology has an emic approach while sociology has an etic approach. Now, what does this mean? Let me explain. Emic approach means let us consider there is some tribe X. Now, this is the member of this tribe, and there is a cultural practice. Now, how this member of the tribe perceives that cultural practice of his own society is called as emic approach. While consider there is some person A who is outsider to that society, and he sees that cultural practices of that tribe X. Now, how he perceives this practice is an outsider's view. This is called etic approach. So we can say that this is the insider's view and this is the outsider's view. Now, social anthropology, another major difference is that culture is considered as the core concept. Now, social anthropology considers that culture came first and then it gave rise to society, while sociology says that society came first and it gave birth to culture. So, this is one another major difference between these two. Now, social anthropology is mainly concerned with the primitive and simple society, that is, the tribal societies, the societies of indigenous people, etc. While the sociology, on the other hand, it studies mainly modern complex societies. Also, social anthropology, it focuses on fieldwork, that is, participant observation, the method that I told you in the last lecture as well. While sociology mainly depends on social survey. Social survey, as I told you, that a questionnaire is given and then the data is analyzed for the macro conclusion. So these were the broad differences between these two subjects. Now, moving on to the now we have to establish the final relationship part between them, which we'll do in conclusion. Now, see this conclusion very, very carefully because this will be common. It will mainly be common for all the subjects that we will be covering later on in this series. So, what we will write, as seen from above, the relationship is an organic one, means it's not static, it's changing with time. It is based on mutual give and take. How it is based on mutual give and take? Social studies give the specialization and depth, while anthropology gives the much needed interlinkages with other spheres of that society, for example, biology, etc. So, with change in one subject, the other one changes as well, and they both evolve. So, both can together help in solving the contemporary social problems. This will very beautifully conclude the relationship part between any two subjects. So, you have to memorize this and you have to kind of copy and paste in all the subjects. Okay, so now we will take on another subject, that is economics. Here, the branch of anthropology that relates with economy is economic anthropology. Now, economic anthropology is a part of sociocultural anthropology, hence they are both interrelated to each other. Now, looking at the similarities of these subjects, they both study modes of production, modes of exchange, technology, environment relation, market, etc. Okay, now also both are concerned with labor organization and effect of globalization on indigenous economies. And the effect of globalization on indigenous economies, this part is more concerned with anthropology, economic anthropology, but economics also do studies this. Also, both use social survey method. Now, it is not so that only this method is used by both the subject, but this is a method which is common to both the subject, and we are telling similarities here, so we will tell the common method here. Now, moving on to the differences of these two subjects, here is economic anthropology, here is economics. Now, it follows a holistic approach. Why? Because it is a branch of anthropology, and anthropology will be concerned with the biology, social aspect of economy, etc. While economics will focus only on the economical aspects, it will not be interested in the social aspect of that society or anything else. And hence, economic anthropology is wider in scope and economy is narrower in scope. Economic anthropology is more interested in primitive modes of production, for example, barter system, and how it worked in various social setups. On the other hand, economics studies modern industrialized economies like the present ones. Now, economic anthropology focuses more on field work. Now, the major field work of anthropology is participant observation. Uh, for example, we can give example here. The Kula ring theory given by Malinowski. Here in these topics, I am actually giving only the overview of the subject. We are not going in depth because that is the part which will be covered later on. So don't worry if you don't know much about the subject. Just know how much I am trying to tell you, and that will do because this is just the base. And once the base is ready, we will go for the specialized part. Now, economics relies mainly on mathematical and statistical data. We know that. Now, also, economic anthropology tries to understand social and biological problems via data available and research. And how it does so? For example, there are example in the anthropology where there are tribes, that there are only two tribes, and they दोनों के पास ऐसी चीजें हैं जो सर्वाइवल के लिए इम्पोर्टेंट हैं. अब दोनों एनिमी ट्राइब्स हैं, बट ट्रेड इज इम्पोर्टेंट. तो एनिमी तो आपस में ट्रेड करते नहीं है. सो व्हाट विल बी द सॉल्यूशन? सो एंथ्रोपोलॉजिस्ट studied and found out that there have been peculiar solution unique to their circumstances. Those we will study later, but just understand that social aspect have come in economic realm. So that is how anthropology studies holistically. But economics, its area of focus are economic problems only, not any social problems or biological problems, etc. Now, economic anthropology studies economy in relation with biology, sociology, culture, polity, etc. As I already told you. But here the point of reference is economics only. So these are the major differences. You have to learn them and write in the exam hall in your answer sheet. Now, moving on to the conclusion part, I already told you that you have to copy paste the conclusion that was in last section, this one. You just have to change the name of the subjects. So here I have not elaborately written as I did here. I have just written concisely. uh, so you have to produce it like this only. So hence economic anthropology and economy share an organic relationship. As one change, other also change, both evolve. One gives depth and specialization, other gives much needed interlinkages, and both together help self solving the contemporary economical problems. This is how you will conclude and establish a very real relationship between the two subjects. So now moving on to the next subject, that is political science. Now, political science is a part of sociocultural anthropology, and hence, and it is very much related with the political anthropology, which is a part of sociocultural anthropology, as I told you. Looking at the similarities of these two, both study law and order, modes of social control, legitimacy, authority, etc. Both study the process of nation building and integration of tribals in society. Now, this part, integration of tribals in society, political anthropology is more prominent, while the process of nation building, political science is more prominent. Now, both use social survey as a tool of research. As I already told you that this is not the only method used by both the subjects, but this is the common one. Now, both try to solve contemporary social and political problems. Okay, now moving on to the differences, there are certain differences as given below. Political anthropology is holistic in approach because it is concerned also about the society. It considers the social setup in which that political environment is working. So it is more holistic one, while political science is mainly confined to polity. Now, political anthropology studies political science in context of society, biocultural evolution, etc. Okay, but here it is purely political in perspective. Now, biocultural, social, how you think this will all will mingle up? For example, there are some tribes which are very small in size. There are no full-time political functionaries. So, how law and order is maintained in those society? It is mainly maintained by the elderly of the society, and why the younger generation do what they want, why they obey them, because it is considered that they do have a direct connection. Those elderlies do have a direct connection with the supernaturals, and if they are not followed, the wrath of the supernatural will be attracted by the youth. That is why youth do follow them. But this is not the way of maintaining law and order in the modern societies. We do have police, we do have institutions, specialized institutions, which are made only to enforce law and order. So, political anthropology takes social considerations into account, while political science, it is mainly political in perspective. And that's why political anthropology is wider in scope and political science is narrower in scope. Now, political anthropology is more interested in primitive social order, that is, stateless society, where there are no specialized full-time institutions, no full-time functionaries, etc. While the political science studies mainly the modern states which have a well-established institutional systems and specialized functionaries for all the political functions, etc. Now, political anthropology applies its knowledge to solve the biocultural and social problems, etc., because it has a connection with social realm of the people. But the knowledge of political science is used mainly to solve the political problems only. Okay, so these were the differences, and this is how you approach when you write the differences. Now the conclusion, as I told you, conclusion will be same for all of those. Now these are deeply interconnected. One gives depth and specialization, while the other one gives interlinkages. The relationship is an organic one, etc. And you will write it down in the conclusion section because this is a very beautiful conclusion and it establishes the relation very well. Now moving on to the other subject, which is behavioral science. Now, here there are many branches of anthropology that relate to the behavioral science. For example, cognitive anthropology, psychological anthropology. As there are many branches that are correlating with each other, we do have some similarities among themselves. And what are those similarities? These have been established by various scholars. For example, let's see Sigmund Freud. He was first a psychologist, then he became a psychological anthropologist. Okay, so he told the effect of psychology on anthropology by his theory, totem and taboo. What is a totem? Totem is actually a sign or a symbol of a clan. You will study it in very detail in the religion wala chapter. But right now, you just understand that Sigmund Freud said that psychology affects anthropology. Why? Because psychology is not something which is only going on in the mind of a person. Psychology manifests itself in the form of culture, and in culture we do have different type of taboos. For example, the incest between two very close biological relationships are tabooed. You will study all this. I know this may look confusing. Uh, for example, the sex between father and daughter. Now these two are very close biological relation. The sex between them is a taboo. means it should not happen. So the effect of psychology on culture manifested itself as a taboo. So this taboo is studied in anthropology, hence psychology affected anthropology. Then came another set of anthropologists who told by their study culture personality school that anthropology also affects psychology. Now, how does that happen? They said that there is culture, culture has some practices that come into action, and those action when become collective in a society show in the personality of a person, and as they are showing in the personality of a person, they are ingrained into psychology of that person. So the culture which is a part of anthropology is affecting ultimately the psychology. So the relation was established by both of them in to and fro manner. Both use the research method called IQ method to study personality. Okay, so these were the similarities. Now coming on to the differences part. Psychological anthropology is a holistic one, as I told you, because this must have something to do with the social part, biological part, etc. But behavioral science is mainly revolves around the behavior, personality, and cognitive psychology. Hence, psychological anthropology is wider in scope, whereas behavioral science is comparatively narrower in scope. Psychological anthropology studies psychology in biocultural and sociocultural perspective, while behavioral science, the perspective is purely psychological. Now it focuses on field work. The favorite field work of anthropology, as we know, participant observation. Now it does the scientific experiment kind of thing in the librarian method. Scientific experiments mean behavioral science will definitely study that, oh, there is uh, a chemical known as oxytocin. Whenever it is released in brain, it gives the feeling of happiness, but this is not directly studied in psychological anthropology. It mainly tries to understand the social norms and cultural traits of a society and its effect on the psychology of a person and how it affects the personality of that person. This is what mainly we do in psychological anthropology. Now, it is used for solving socio-cultural and biocultural problems. Definitely, that can be done because the socio-cultural and biological aspects were taken into account when the psychological anthropology was studied. But behavioral science cannot do that. It can solve only psychology related problems. Now the main difference, as I told you, it has an emic approach. Emic means insider's view, while this has an etic approach, means outsider's view. So these were the differences between these two subjects. Conclusion, as I already told you, we have to do in the very same manner. Moving on to the next subject, that is life sciences. Now, biological anthropology is the branch of anthropology that relates to life sciences. Both are deeply interconnected, and as they are interconnected, they will have some similarities that we are going to see now. Both share some common subject matter like anatomy, genetics, etc. Both use scientific method for object analysis and research because this is obviously biology, so biology will be studied in laboratory. So scientific methods will be used. Now, both contribute to solving contemporary biological problems. For example, COVID-19 can be given as an example. Okay, so now looking at the differences, this is the holistic one and it studies all living organisms and processes. Holistic approach with respect to human species. This is what the full sentence will be. Correct it in your notes. It is holistic an approach with respect to human species while it studies all living organisms and processes. Now it studies about human evolution, but biology studies about the evolution of all living beings and also of humans. Now, biological anthropology studies evolution from biocultural and socio-cultural perspective. Now, this is very important. How is it so? Biological anthropology does not only say that first we had a shifting head, then we became erect and blah blah blah, but it along with it studies the social part as well. It says that when we had a shifting head, we were not fully erect, our hands were not fully free to use the tools, so we did not have some specialized tools. But when we became erect, our posture became erect, upright, our hands were free, so tools could be made. So when tools made, hunting was done. More the hunting, more the cooperation required. If cooperation required, then there are some social norms that were to be followed, and hence society emerged. This is how biological anthropology will approach the holistic study of human evolution. But biology is not at all concerned with all these things, it is only concerned with the biological perspective. Now, biological anthropology stands as a subject between natural and social sciences. This is very interesting how natural sciences is the one where experimentation is done, where there are objective criterias for everything which can be proven. While there are social studies, in social studies, there are no objective criterias for something, okay? So, biological anthropology is studying genetics, anatomy, which is studied in natural science, but it is also studying the tools, the social organization that was affected by those tools, which comes in social science. So it is not at this extreme, neither it is at this extreme. It lies somewhere between this. Okay, that's why I said that it stands as a subject between natural and social sciences, while biology is purely a natural science. Now, in biological anthropology, culture is the core to study evolution, like how tools were made, at which stage tools were made, when tools became specialized, what was the what was its result on the psychology of a person, etc. But biology has nothing to do with culture or society. It has the purely biological perspective. Now, biological anthropology for the holistic study requires the field work, which is participant observation. While in biology, the research is based mainly on the scientific experiments, as we talked here in the similarities. Now, it is used to solve biocultural and sociocultural problems, while biology can only be used to solve the biological problems. So, these were the differences between these two subjects. Conclusion will be same as I told you. You'll have to read this and fit in the terms in that frame that I told you, which was ideal. Now, coming on to the medical sciences. Anthropology is holistic study of mankind, as I told you, while medical science is the study of prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of disease. Some of the branches of anthropology that relate with medical science are epidemiological anthropology, forensic anthropology, etc. Now, what is epidemiological anthropology? Don't worry, we will be studying in detail them as a subject. But let me tell you यहाँ पे मोटा मोटा सा थोड़ा कि epidemiological anthropology studies about disease. For example, COVID-19 or for any disease for that matter, okay? Its reason, what are the social circumstances giving rise to that disease, what can be its biological effect, etc. While forensic anthropology is a research wala anthropology where fingerprints are studied, etc. So the similarities between them are they do have strongly overlapping subject matter. What is that? Population genetics. Both medical science and anthropology studies population genetics, nutritional science, etc. Now, both of them use scientific study method because forensic anthropology, epidemiological anthropology, they need to be studied in the laboratory. So, they use scientific study method. Both help solve contemporary problems. Now, looking on to the differences of these two subjects, Anthropology, as we know, is a holistic one. Why? Because social, biological, economical, all type of aspects are studied, but medical science focuses mainly on prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of disease. Then anthropology sees it sees medical anthropology from the lens of cultural perspective. Like, what are the cultural factors that may give rise to a disease or deficiency in a particular population? But medical science has a purely biomedical perspective. Now, anthropology lies between natural and social sciences, as I told you, because it studies the forensics and epidemiological anthropology, which do our studies in laboratory and need scientific experimentation. On the other hand, it also studies the society and the cultural aspect that contribute to a disease. So, it lies somewhere in between. But medical science is purely a natural science. Now, anthropology is more interested in ethnic and indigenous system of medicines. That is, the one used by tribals, the one used by indigenous people, etc. While medical science is more interested in modern societies. Anthropology focuses on field work. Definitely, which one? Participant observation, the favorite of anthropology. And the medical science, it relies on scientific observation, lab experiments, and research data. For example, the petri dish may we do some bacteria experiment, etc. Anthropology gives socio-cultural benefits as well, while medical science only benefits medically. So these were the differences between these two subjects. Now moving on to the conclusion, you will definitely write the one in the frame that I gave you in the first subject. But do mention COVID-19 here. Always try to relate your static part of the anthropology with the current one, because that is a value addition and that attracts more marks from the examiner. Okay, so now there is one subject left, that is earth science. I want you to try it out yourself because most of the differences between the subjects are same. Conclusion, I have already told you. The only thing you have to write are three similarities. Now, this much brain I expect you to use and write down three similarities, and please upload them in the comment section so that I can know whether you have done it right or not. So let us see some previous year questions that were asked from this portion of the syllabus. First of all, write a note on 150 words, means it a 10 marker, on differences between social anthropology and sociology. Can we do this? Yes, we can do this because we have done this in the first portion. Okay. Second is differentiate between economics and economic anthropology. We have done this. Third is discuss the relationship of anthropology with psychology and medicine. Now, this is of 1999. There was a whole lot different frame of syllabus at that time, but still how we will approach this question is relationship of anthropology. First, we will write psychology. We will give introduction. We will write differences, some similarities, and then we will do the same with medicine. We will introduce in one or two lines, tell one, two, three similarities, tell one, two, three differences, and give a whole conclusion covering both the subjects. This is how it will be done. It must be a 20 marker considering the length of answer it requires. Now, fourth question, write a note on 150 words on how do you situate anthropology in social science. Now, this one is a tricky and interesting one as well. How you will approach it? Situate anthropology in social science. Now, social science was the first one. Uske andar there were three subjects that we have studied: economics, polity, sociology, etc. Give a brief relationship with those and then tell it lies somewhere between the natural science and the social science. Okay, so this will be the relationship. Now, the piece of advice, as I told you, I will give you in the last is stay focused and keep revising, because with each class passing, don't uh, don't collect a pile of lectures that you have to go through again and again. While you are seeing the lecture, take down notes and revise them. Keep revising them. When you revise, solve the PYQs of that section of syllabus that you have revised. That way, your daily answer writing practice will be done. And this will do 80% of your preparation about the optional. Rest is the value addition and the tests, the full length test within the time frame. But first, grab this 80% and stay tuned with me. We'll see you in the next lecture. Thank you. Bye bye.